Do you want to see my new chainsaw and hockey mask?
So this is one of my chainsaws, Husqvarna 266 XP. Pretty sure I took the rings out of it because there is like barely any compression compared to my 395 here, which is like big compression. Even with this one has a decompression switch. So I went on Amazon and bought the cheapest fucking top end kit I've ever seen, $15. So haven't got it yet, but I'm gonna start tearing into it. Hopefully it works. If not, I'll have to buy a legit one. But I'm gonna start tearing into it here and see what we find once we actually get the get the cylinder off. I think what I got is a piston and rings, wrist pin, I think a couple gaskets. It was $15.50 or something stupid like that. So we're gonna take it apart and see what we find. I'd like to get it working again because it's a nice size saw compared to that big fucking thing right there. That one I bought for my mill attachment. This one my buddy gave me, and I used it for a whole summer, and then last Sunday I popped it, just lemon some shit, put a brand new chain on it and popped it about 10 minutes later. So we're gonna tear into it and see what we find. So first things first, pulled my top cover, chain brake, air filter, spark plug off. Pretty easy, 13 mil flathead, nothing crazy. Next, I'm gonna pull the exhaust off, pull the carburetor off, and then I can work on these actual bolts that hold the cylinder on. I believe they're an Allen head of some sort. I'll have to figure that out. They're very, there's a lot of shit inside of them, so I'm gonna have to get a pick in there and clean them out before I bother to before I try and take any of them off. Yeah, so I'm gonna put you guys on kind of a video just of me working for a few minutes, and we'll see where we get anyway. So the piston looks pretty rough. I'm going to say that. That ring is definitely not doing anything. Hopefully the inside of the cylinder wall is okay. I might be able to hone it, or I mean really it's not that expensive to buy a new cylinder wall. But most of the ones I could find were bigger bore. And getting into that, you're kind of really testing the weak points of the saw itself. Once you get into boring it out, or like going bigger bore and porting it and all that shit, you're really testing the limitations of the fucking crank seals and everything in that respect. So we'll see what the inside of the cylinder looks like once we get that far. So I got the carb off, just drove a screw into the, just push the screw into the fuel line just to keep it from leaking. These things, they're cheap. If it's not squishy and it's not pliable, replace it. This one seems pretty decent. I got to take off this little spacer block in between that goes in between the carb and the block, and then I'm gonna get into trying to get these Allen head bolts down in here. There's 4 of them all the way around the block, and I just need to give them a quick clean out, and then I'll pull the head off and see what it all looks like in there. Curious to see what the inside of the cylinder looks like. Okay, grand reveal. See what we're working with here. Yeah, that side's pretty fucked. That side actually looks great. So let's have a look inside of the old cylinder here. Bolts out of the way. So which side's which? So the side I'm more concerned about is the exhaust side, which will be this side. And it's not great, but it's not too bad. The intake side is mint. Nothing wrong with it. So, little bit of scoring in there. There's a little bit of material right at the very top there. You can see kind of right there. I don't know if that's maybe ring material, but I'm not sure. Bearing on the crank seems pretty good. There's a bit, I think side to side play is okay, but there's no up and down play. My new piston came with a wrist pin, and even though the one in this isn't very bad, I don't know if it came with a gasket for that, like the main cylinder gasket or not. So I'm wondering, this might hone out. I'm gonna fuck around and find out is what's gonna happen. But I think with a new ring on, or the new piston and the new ring, I think this might hone out if I can get myself a little hone, cleaned up good. I think it might be alright. So I got the cylinder cleaned up a fair bit, just kind of trying to clean some of the gunk and shit out of it. I'm going to do a little bit more, but I got to do a little. I went through it once with the hone. I'm going to go over it again because the exhaust side up here around the bottom of the cylinder, I guess, it's cleaning up. I just got to take a little bit more material out. I don't want to go too much, but it's still nothing crazy, but it's still, you know, I can still feel the grooves in it. It's not quite smooth, but the other side is like smooth as butter. So I think I got her cleaned up pretty good. I'm gonna blow her out again with some air, but this whole thing's a little bit of a gamble, but I think that cylinder hone will probably be fine for what it is. Like, I mean, I did remove quite a bit of material, and I mean, I kind of had to really get rid of the ridges from where that other piston was riding. But if it doesn't work, I'm only out $15 for whatever, because this might have been fucked. Like the cylinder, I don't know what the tolerances are, but the ring has quite a bit of like the ring will expand probably, you know, 1/16 of an inch or whatever. I don't know how many thou that is off the top of my head, but we'll see what happens once I get it put back together. But I'll put it back and just give it a pull and see what kind of compression we're dealing with. But we're gonna see what happens here anyway. So here it is in the saw. The only thing I'm kind of concerned about is there's a little bit more side to side play on the piston, which this one had a little bit, but not quite as much. Like this one probably had about a 1/16 of an inch. This one has maybe 3/32. Like nothing crazy, but like I said, we're kind of fucking around and finding out here. So I'm going to slap the cylinder back in it and torque the bolts down and throw the spark plug in it, see if we have any good compression. Now, I don't know how much compression they're supposed to have, and it's really hard to kind of gauge just by turning it over, but it feels like it has quite a bit. Spin her back to... Yeah, so she's making pretty good compression now. I guess we'll get the carb back on and the exhaust and see if we can get her fired up. So I got that little spacer back in, got this in, there's a gasket in between there, and now I'm just gonna do a quick clean on this carb because there's a lot of material down in there, and I don't know if some of it maybe got in there during my disassembly, but just for peace of mind, there is some stuff in there. It's not too bad, but I'm going to give it a spray and try and just make sure there's nothing in there. I don't think any foreign material was getting in there because the intake side of the piston looks pretty good. I think maybe at some point some material might have got in there. Like you can see some big long scratches up the whole thing, but not nearly as bad as the exhaust side. Okay, so she's reassembled mostly minus the top cover, and I broke one of the exhaust bolts, but we're gonna try and give her the first test fire here. Well, I call that a success. I think might need to turn the idle down a little bit, and it's rattling a bit just because of that exhaust being undone. But it does run. That's great. Now the longevity of this, I'm not sure. I mean, I just figured kind of be fun to see how it works with the shitty Amazon fucking piston, but it has like super strong compression. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to actually run it, see what happens. But anyway, I hope this helps out for anybody rebuilding one of these or doing a top end on. I think most Husqvarna saws should be pretty similar. Basically, just take your time. I really tried to clean everything up pretty well as I was taking it apart. I didn't get a new air filter yet, but just yeah, try and keep things clean, try and have a clean workspace. Yeah, thanks for watching.